And hello there, welcome to Rusty's Sudoku stream. I'm Rusty, and we've got a hard puzzle to solve today. And I posited this on Sudoku stream Sudoku, or on Blue Sky, there we go, with it's Saturday. Madness, I tell you. Madness. So let's see if we can address some of this madness and get a Sudoku puzzle solved quickly. Or as quickly as possible, considering the circumstances. This morning, I was just a little bit late in getting up. It would have been nice to get over to the Midwinter Madness Ham Fest on the first day of spring in Buffalo, Minnesota. And as it was, I ended up getting there about an hour after they started. At least if I've got my timings right. Need to see about changing that for the April 18th Ham Fest up in Brainerd. That means I'm probably going to have to leave even earlier. But then I may be able to swing by my property and drop some stuff off, pick some stuff up, all that kind of good stuff. In any case, this is loaded up. Let's do a validate, and if there's if it validates, you get about 20 seconds to grab a screenshot and see how this goes. All right, validate. So we've got 5 seconds gone. 10, 15, and it's my time to start playing here, huh? Okay, one of these two is going to be a 2. Got 3 possibilities there. We do get a 2 here. One of these 3 will be a 2. These 2 will be a 2. Try 1s. We've got a couple of possibilities here. And unfortunately, way too many possibilities there. Here we've got 3 possibilities. 3 possibilities there. 3 possibilities up here. And yeah, 4 possibilities here. How about 3s? Well, we get a 3 here. And one of these 2 is going to be a 3. We've got 3 possibilities here. 2 possibilities here. And 2, nope, not there. 2 possibilities here. This one can't be a 3, so kind of balances things out, I guess. About 4s. We got a 4 here. Here, so there's 3 possibilities there. 3 possibilities there. 2 possibilities here. 4 possibilities here. Looks like 8 possibilities there, 4 there, and 3 here. How about 5? So we get a couple possibilities for a 5 here. And 4 possibilities here. 3 possibilities there. 3 possibilities here. And it looks like 4 possibilities here as well. And 4 possibilities here. All right, 6s. We get a 6 here. 3 possible 6s there. 5 possibles there. 4 possibles here and here. 5 possibles here. Everything's open here for 5. And there's not a lot of control over these 5 or these 8. There's 4 possibilities here for a 5. But 6s. Again, we got the 4 there. Not a lot of help here. 3 possibles there. 5 here. Again, all kinds of possibilities there. And here. And here. All right, 7s. One of these 2 is going to be a 7. One of these 2 is a 7. I've got 3 possibilities here. 5 or 6 possibilities there. 4 here. 3 here. And on to 8. We got this column is completely filled up. The one on the left. Got 4 possible 8s here. 3 possible 8s here. 3 possible 8s here. 3 possible 8s here. 4 here. And 5 here. So we're on to 9s. All right. 3 possible 9s here. 3 possible 9s here. 4 here. 3 here. 4 here. Like 5 possibles there, and everything's open here. All right. I'm going to, this does not look like it's enough information for me. So we're going to go ahead and flood all those 3s and 4s and even the 8s down there. So 1s here. 3 of them. There's 4 1s here. And here. Got the 2 there. 3 possible 1s here. 3 possible here. And we've done with the 1s. How about 2s? Like I've got those 2 marked. 3 possible 2s here. 3 possible 2s here. And we've got those 2 marked. 3s. With those 2 3s. And they don't really help me as much as I'd like. All right. We've got 3 possible 3s here. 2 here. 2 here. And that's it for 3s. 4s. We've got a 4 here. One of these 4 is going to be a 4. One of these 4 is going to be a 4. I've got 3 possibilities here and here. And over here, we've got these 2 and 3 possibilities here. 5s. We've got those 2 marked. I've got 3 possible 5s here, 4 possible 5s here. 4 or 3 possible 5s here. 3 here. 4 here. And 4 here. All right, 6s. We've got 4 6s, or 4 possible 6s there. 4 here as well. 3 possible 6s up here. 5 possible 6s here. And yes, that is still possibly a 5. And here we've got everything is possible to be a 6. Over here, everything is possible to be a 6. We've got 8 possibilities here. Except these 2 can't be 6s. 7 3 is locked in. So we've got those 4 and 5 possibles there. 7s. We've got 3 possible 7s up here. 2 here, 4 here, 6 here, and 3 here. Moving on to 8s, covered in this column. All right, we've got 4 possible 8s here, 4 possible 8s here, 3 here. Here we've got 3 possible 8s. Here we've got 3 possibles, and 5 possibles here. All right, how about 9s? There and there block a couple of them up here, so we've got 4 possible 9s here, 3 possible 9s here, 3 possible 9s here, 5 down here, 3 here, and 4 here, and everything can potentially be a 9 here. All right, anything we can work with here. So for example, we've got this 9-6 here. We don't have a single or easy 9-6 anywhere else except here, which affects this one, but not a lot of other stuff at the moment. So let's see about other possibilities. 6-2, 6-1, 6-1-3, 8-2-3, 8-2-6. Nope. 8-9, 9-5. If I had 5-8, that would be helpful, but not enough at the moment. All right. Okay. That's also possibly a 9. But that is not. Okay. Clear up an error there. Well, oddly enough, the only place where I've got a pair to work with is right here, where that can't be 5 or 9. 7-3 possibility there. So let's go with this being a 7 and this being a 3. That makes this a 7, not a 7 here. Not a 7 there either. Over here. Got 2 possibilities for a 3 at this point here. And nothing else jumps out at me as this piece has to be this. All right, 6-2, 6-1, 6-2, 8, 2-3, 8. 163. If I make this a 8, that gets me 6-2 pair here. We can clean up the 6s and the 2s in here. And up here, that becomes a 1, and that becomes a 3. All right. Oh, we get to clean up the 8s here. That becomes a 5. So that's also another 8 nor 5. That becomes a 4, 3. This is a 2. The 7 should have been cleared up earlier. And let's see, anything else? That can't be a 3, so this is a 4. Not a 4, not a 4. 9, 6 pair means 9 or 6 can't be here or here. That makes this a 7, so not a 7, not a 7, not a 7. This is the only... Hold on. I've got an extra digit here. Oh, not a 5, so that's a 1. Not a 1 there. 1 here, not a 1 here or here. That makes this into a 3. And that can't be a 3. What would I need here? 1, 2. One of these, or that's a 3. 4, 5, 6. Can that be a 7? No, it can't be a 7. All right. So we get to go back and back out that 7, 3. And reverse it. Oh, wait. That wasn't... Oh, keep going. It's 7, 3. Nope. 7 3s we get to keep. Working back to where I made a decision that, okay, that was if that was an 8 there. How about if this is an 8? So clean up these two 8s. Clean up these two. That makes this into an 8. Don't have 8s in here. Also, that makes these two and these two not 8s. We got a 9 coming in here. Not a 9, not a 9, not a 9. Makes that into a 2, not a 2. And that becomes a 2. Because that's not a 2, that's a 2. Turns this into a 6. Not a 6, not a 6, not a 6. That becomes a... Nope, that can't be a... Yeah, it has to be a 6. Except that means that we can't do that. Let's go back and flip the 7 3s now. And see if that gets us any better. So this would be a 3 and this is 7 then. Not a 7. This one's going to be a 7. Not a 3 here, so that's going to be a 3. That's going to be a 4. Not a 4. Don't have to worry about 4s there. Get 2 possibilities here. That means that's not a 4. That is. Also, these are not going to be a 4. This one's not going to be a 3. And none of these can be a 7. Got an 8-2 pair here, so that makes that a 5. This a 4. And we've kind of eliminated this one down to being a 3. but not a 3 here. With 8-2 pair here, that's all taken care of now. 9-6 pair there, so not a 9 or 6 here or here. Also not an 8 up here, since these two lock it in for the square. That gives me a 7 here, a 7 here, not a 7 here or here. Also not a 7 here or here, or here, or here. That makes this one into a 7. That's not. That becomes a 7. And that's 7's on the board. All right. Gotta stop with the elms, don't I? I am missing a digit up here. I need a 3. And it looks like this is supposed to be a 3, and it can't be a 3 because I've got a 3 down here. All right, so let's back out to that 7-3 pair again, and we will try something else. One of these two has to be a 3. Well, let's pick one. So that can't be now. So that's not a 3. This isn't a 3. That makes that a 3, not a 3, 3. And that makes this a 3, and that's a 7. That makes this a 4. 7 here, not a 4. Cleans up 9, 6 here, and here, and here, leaving this a 2, a 5, and a 4. So let's clean up the 4s here, and here. That means this is a 4. All right, and that means these can't be a 4. We're clear up there. That can't be a 4, so that's a 4. And that means these can't be a 4. Also, this can't be a 4, so that's a 4. That leaves this as being a 4, which I didn't get marked. All right. 4 here. Not a 5 here. What if I cleared something up wrong there? That becomes a 1. So we got a 9, 6 pair here, so neither of those nor those. That becomes an 8, not a 5 here. Not an 8 either. That's a 2 now. So we clean up these two 2s. Clean up this 8. 6, 2, 6, 2 makes this a 9. Cleaning up 9s here, turning this into a 5. This becomes a 6. This is a 2. This is 6. Not a 6. 8, 9 pair here. All right. That becomes a 1, and that becomes a broke. All right. I am going to start from the top and do a blood fill from the beginning. That's going to be a 2, so one of these two will be a 2. Okay, one of these two will be a 3. 3 is a 3. These 2 is a 3. Got 5 possibilities here. Actually, I don't. I've got 2 possibilities here. One of these 2 is a 3. This becomes a 3. Wonder if I'd missed that earlier. All right. So one of these 3 is a 4. One of these 3 is a 4. I've got 4 possibilities here. 4 here is, nope, 2 here. 3 possible places for a 4 here. 4 possibles here. And over here, I've got not a lot of guidance yet. So 5s, we've got 3 possible places for a 5 here. 4 possible places here. 2 possible places here, and 4 possible places here. That leaves this square where I've got 4 possible locations, and this square where I've got 3 possible locations. And we move on to 6s, where I've got 3 places here, 5 places here, 4 places here, 4 here, and everything is open in the other squares. One of these 2 is a 7, and with the 3s, we can eliminate 4, 5, and 6 on these. One of these 3 is a 7. I've got 6 places for a 7 here, 4 places here, 3 places here, 2 here. Right, 2 places, nope. We got an 8 here and here. 8s that are taken care of in that column. One of these 3 is an 8. One of these 3 is an 8. I've got 3 possibilities here. 4 possible places for an 8 here and here. Different pattern, but looks like I've got 5 possible places for an 8 there. 9s. Neither of these can be a 9. One of these 3 will be a 9. I've got 3 possible places for a 9 here. 3 possibles here. 5 possibles here. And everything's open to 9s here, except for that 7-3 pair. That's 6 of them there. And that takes care of those. I've got 4 possible places for a 9 here. All right. 5, 6, 7, 4, 6, 1, 6. Seven, 6, 7, 6, 1, 7, 3, 4, 3, 7, 4. Oh, we did not place 9s in these 4 spots. Okay. Let's try these again. 7 and 3. So not a 3. not 7s. That makes this a 7. These not. Giving us 4 possibilities for a 7 here, 3 here. Got a 7 there, 2 possibilities here, 3 possibilities here. All right. 4, 3, 8, 2, 8, 2, 3, 8, 5, 8, 4, 5. So either this is a 4, this is a 3, 9, 6 here. Leaving 4, 5. 4, 5, 2, 4, 2 here. Or this is a 3, this is a 4. And we get the 9, 6 pair there. Which all right, let's go with the 3, 4 here. Clean up the 9, 6s here and here. So one of these 3 is going to be a 9 and a 6, with the 7s and 1s and the 3s doubling up somewhere. Not a 3 here. So an 8, 2 pair there makes this into a 5. This becomes a 4. Okay. So not a 4 here or here. Makes this into a 3, which breaks. Okay, not a 3. But that broke other stuff, I believe. We do have a possible 3 there, but what am I missing? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that can't be a 3 at this point. So let's try flipping the 4, 3 combination here, making that a 4, that a 3, not a 4. 9, 6 missing, 9, 6, 9, 6. Clean up the 4s here. Also clean up the 4 there. 8, 5, 8, 5 makes this a 2 and a 3, so not a 3 there. And that can be a 3 now. Also not a 3 there. 8, 5, 8, 5. Help anywhere else? I'm not seeing it. This becomes a 4 because it's the only one in the square. Okay. Confusing things there. Hey, that says this can't be a 2 here. This could be, though. Nope, that can't be either. So we just have those 3 that could be 2s here. 8, 9 does not work as interference with anything else unless I can get a 9, 1 or something locked in. 8, 1 would be fine, but not so much. Okay, 6, 2, 6, 2, 8. 6, 1, 6, 1. So not a 6 on either of these. That makes 2, 8 here. Not a 2 here, which probably has been there staring at me for a long time. Not a 2 there. Anything else I need to clean up on these? 1, 2, 3s taken care of. 4, 5, 6 are valid here. And 9 is valid where we've got 9s. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. So there's 5 digits there in that combination. Okay. Well, let's try up here. 6 and 9. Not a 9, not a 9. 6 here. Okay, let's use the 1, 6 pair here with a 1 and a 6 here. Not a 6, not a 6, not a 6, not a 6. Not a 1 here or here. Giving me a 7, 6 pair here, so not a 7 up here. Meaning one of these two is a 7. Part of what I don't like here is I'm leaving way too many dead ends and not getting anything that's leading me to solutions right off the bat. Or streams of solutions that carry one into the next. 8 here or here. Okay. And not an 8 here or here. That makes this an... And that's not an 8. Okay. Backing that out. And let's see if I can lock that. Roll back to where we set that 8. That's where we set that 8. So with an 8 here, 9 here. Instead of 5, and that becomes an 8. Not an 8 in either of these places, makes this into an 8. That cleans up these two, and this is now cleaned up. Well, it's this. And this becomes an 8, and this becomes an 8. This becomes not an 8, this is an 8, and that's a broke again. Okay. Let's flip these two. Nine and 6 here instead of 6 and 9. Still have the 6 9s cleaned up there. So not a 9 in these two, not a 6 in these three. That becomes a 1, so not a 1 here or here. This becomes a 6, not a 6 here or here or here or here. Or here or here. Making this into a 5, so not a 5 there or there or there. This becomes a 4, so 7 here. And we can clean up the 4s here. Clean up that 7. We've got a 1 9 pair now. Also not a 7. That's not a 7. That makes that an 8, a 1, and a 4 here. Not an 8 up here. Also not a 1. And those two, 5 6 5 6 makes that a 7. 1 9 1 9 doesn't change anything. One of those two is going to be 8. No alteration there. 7 9 7 9 means not a 7 up here. So one of these two is a 7. Ah, but they can't be 8 or 5 because I've got an 8 5 here and here. 4 is locked in here and here, meaning that's a 4, and these 4s all would have been cleaned out before. That gets to be cleared for being a 4. Also, these two are not going to be a 4 because in this square, one of these two has to be a 4. It can't be that one. It can be that one. All right. And that can't be a 7. The 1 and 7 here. Clean up the ones here or one here. Well, these two is a 1. Hey, this can't be a 5. This is a 6. Not a 6 there. This is going to end up being an 8. So we get a 6 here, 5 here. 8 here, 5 here. And clean up the 5s down here, making this into a 5. 9, 6 here. Nine and 7 here. Not an 8. Have a 9, 6 pair here. 9, 6 goes with that 9, 6 to say that can't be a 9 or a 6. That's going to be a 5. That's going to be a 2. And that's going to be an 8. Now we can clean up a few things with that. So this becomes a 4. No, it can't be a 4. It needs to be a 5. And it can't be a 5 because of that. 5 has to be up here, which means either this one or one of these two. Well, this one needs to be a 5. Or possibly that. All right, let's back those out. That 8 has been sitting there for a long time. I think it was one of those, I had a choice between two locations that could be an 8. Kind of, oh, yeah, that would have been why the 6s were gone. Six, one pair in the top square, or top two, upper two right or left-hand squares. Okay, so we're all the way back to the 3-4 question here. So I think we're actually back down to the 7-3 question here. 3 and 7 now. So not a 7, because that was a 3, not a 3, not a 3. Okay. So one of these two becomes a 7. Now, we have 3 there. That means that gets to be a 3, not a 3 here. That becomes a 3. This becomes a 4. Not a 4, not a 4. Makes this into a 4. Also, this is not a 4. not a 4 here. Ooh, 9696 makes that a 7, so neither of these can be a 7, and neither of these can be a 7. Also, that 96 means not a 9 or a 6 here, here, or here. So if I make this an 8, those become not 8. That becomes a not 8. That becomes a 2. So not a 2 there. The other thing is that becomes not an 8, means this is a 1. These two are not. I get two possibilities up here. But it also means not a 1 there or there. Do you have any other places that I can clean up yet? Not yet. 4, 5, 4, 5, 2, 4, 2. Ah, 5, 6, 5, 6 makes this into an 8. So we'll clean up these 8s and these. 7, 6, 7, 6 means neither 7 or 6 here or here. And we're left with a 7 here. Oh, hey, this becomes a 4, and this becomes an 8, because it can't be 4 or 6. So not an 8 here. Oh, also not a 4 in either of these locations. That becomes a 5, not a 5 here. 4, 2, 4, 2, so not a 4, and already not a 2 in those. We've got a 4 here, so not a 4 here. That makes this into a 4. Not a 5, not a 5, so that's a 6. That becomes a 9. This is not a. That can't be a 5. That means this is a 5. That's going to be a 1. That becomes a 6. Not a 6. Which works out okay, I guess. Not a 1 there. That becomes a 1. Not a 9 in either of these. That's a 9. So we clean up these 9s. Making this a 9. Clean up these 2 9s. This becomes a 6 and a 5. not a 5, not a 6, 2, 6 here. So not a 6, not a 2 here or here. That becomes a 4, not a 4. We can clean up the 8 there. This also can't be a 4. This can't be a 4, it's a 2. So that's not a 2, that becomes a 6. We can clean up the 6's there, which should have already cleaned up because of the 6 here. All right, not a 6. So 5 here, 2, but that can't be a 2. Okay. Made a bad choice earlier. Let's go with that being a 4. 4, 2 pair down here. Okay. 1, 5, 1, 6, 9, 9, 6, 5. 9, 6, 5, 9, 6, 1. Okay, not a 5. Not a 5 here. 4 here. So that makes that into 1, not a 1. 5, 6, 9, 6, 9, 1. And yes, I am being tentative as all get out on some of these because, kind of getting burned hard here. Nope, not a 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And also not a 4 or 8 here. That becomes a 2, so not a 2 here, not a 5, that's a 6. Not a 6 there now. 4 here, 8 here. Not an 8 up here. And this was not a 2 to begin with, so 5 there. 6, 8, nope, 5, 6. So 2 here. 1, 2, 3. Should be a 4, but I've got a 4 up here. Okay, that should be a 4. 5. And that can't be a 6 either. Okay. That was going to cause some problems here, wasn't it? We start here with a 1. Nope, I have to back up further until we don't have a 1 there. Like that, I need to undo the 5. Undo the 4. All right, so let's go with that point. Put a 4 here, not a 4. I guess 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6. I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. One of these needs to be an 8. And that should have been that one, I think. Let's go with an 8 here. 4 here. 5 here. Not a 4. Six 2 pair here means not a 6 in these cells. Not a 5 here, so that's a 7. Not a 5 there, that's a 5. 1 and 8. And if the 1's there, that becomes a 1. Get the 9, 6 pair. Not a 7 here, so that's a 5. Nothing to clean up on that one. Not a 4 here. One of these two will be a 4. Not a 4, so that's a 6. And a 4 here. So not a 4 here or here. Not a 6 here or here. Got 2 possibilities. Not a 5 there. That makes this a 5. Not a 5. One of these 3 is going to be a 5. But this is not going to be a 5. Neither is that. So that's a 5. All right, this can't be a 1, so that's a 9. That's the 1. And these two can't be 2, so 9 and 8. 4 here, not here. Neither 9 nor 8 there. Not a 9 here, so that's a 4. And that breaks. One there says for this column, that gets to be a 1, not a 1. 4242 says that's not a 4. That would suggest this is a 9, which means this would have to be a 9, and it can't. Wow. Let's try this again, resetting it again. All right. Okay, 3. Four. Hmm. Okay. Just as a point of observation, if I make this a 4, one of these goes to be a 7, one has to be a 3, which means that's unsolvable. So that is not a 4. So we're down to one of these two being a 4. We don't have any other 3s or 7s in the column of cells. All right. 6, 2, 6, 1, 6, 3. 8, 2, 3, 8, 2, 6. See what happens if we try a 4 here. Blocks 4s here and here. Makes this into a 4. These two are blocked. Also cleans up these. Means that's a 4. That's not a 4. That is a 4. That can no longer be 9 or 6. We've got pair there. 9 or 6. 9 or 6. 9 or 6. 4, 5, 2 triplet. That or these two couldn't be 4. Okay, so we have 2 possibilities there. 3 here. Okay, let's narrow things down a bit. So if we do 3 here and 7 here, that becomes a 3, that becomes a 7. We get to clean up the 7s here. I don't have any 3s in here. That's not a 3, so that's a 3. That becomes a 3. I got a 5, 6, 5, 6, so that becomes an 8. Not an 8 here, here, or here. So this becomes an 8. Also, these two needed to be cleaned up. This is the only 2 in... Oh, that can't be a 2. So that makes this into a 2. Nope. This one's a 2. All right. 19696, 196. Okay. These two can't be 1s. So not a 1 here. That's a 1. Also, these two couldn't be 1s. But that means that, and that can't be a 1. Seven, 6, 7, 6 pair, so that's now a 4. 5. 4, 5 there. 5 there. 5 there. That becomes a 6. 9 and 7. Not a 7. 7, 6 pair. Not a 6. Not a 6 here. 1, 5 pair. And 10, 6, 9, 6. Oh, not a 5 here. So 2 and 4. Not a 4 here. Clean up these 9s. And these two will be a 9. Oh, not a 9 here or here. This is the only 4 in the square. And pairs up with everything else nicely. This is no longer a bunch of 5s. So that's 1, 5. That's not a 6. That's 6. Not a 6 here or here. Not a 1 here. That suggests this is a 1, a 9, 5, and 6. So clean up the 9s here. And that's not going to work. All right. Okay. Yeah, bunch of backtracking to do okay. Let's go back to, oh, keep going. What's a 7-3? Maybe backing off the 4 option. Okay. There's 7 and 3. Making that into a 7 and that into a 3. Okay, one of these two will be a 4. Not a 7 here, here, or here. Not a 3 here, and that breaks 3. Look at that. That makes one of these to a 4. Go with this one for now, as that allows me to say a 4 here. Clean up these. This is also not a 4. That becomes a 4. Neither 9 or 6 here. We end up with 7, 3, triplet or pairs, double pairs. Two here, not here, or here. Also not here. Taking this into a 2. Oh, 9, 6, clean up, and column here. And 1s and 4s here are critical. There's not a 1 here, but there's a 4. Not a 4 here. So one of these two is a 4. One of these two, and picking up that 4 as well. And this is based on a punt, but that gets me 717171, so that's not a viable solution. So instead, we do a 3 here. Which makes this into an 8. It also means this is going to be a 3. So 7 and 3 here, 7 up here. Clean up these 7s. And these. This becomes a 3. This becomes an 8. And here, here, or here, or here. This an 8. So this was not an 8. This is our remaining 2 in the row. No, not a 2. That's a 2. We get a remaining 4. One of either of those two can be a 4. That makes this into a 4. This becomes a 5. This becomes a 6. 1. There's neither 5 or 1 there. I do a 6, 5, 1 here, so that's a 9. We have 5 here, a 9 here. Not a 6 here or here, and not a 1 here. Making this into a 1, and a 6 here. 6 there or there, making this a 9 and a 1. Neither of those there. Also, clean up some of these other remnants. Nope. Okay. I've got some ones that need to be cleaned up before we try this again. These can't be ones. Means one of these two is going to be a 1, because that could be a 1. All right. Now we clean up the 4s to the point where we just have in the bottom row, we have the 2 4s in here, 2 4s in here, and 3 4s in here. And this can't be a 4. Because if this is a 4, then we lose the option for 3 or 4 7 here, and either this becomes a 7 or 3, or this becomes a 7 or 3, because 9 6 pair is here, and that doesn't. All right. Try this again with this 4, not a 4, not a 4. These two will be a 4. Also, neither 9 or 6 here. Bring up 9, 6 here, here, here. And 4 says these two can't be a 4. So we have 4s here and here, and these 3 places. Okay. All right. Put a 4 here. That becomes a 5. This becomes a 6. Becomes a 1. Now a 4, 5, 6, 4, 1. So that becomes a 9. These two become not 9s. Let's do these two. And this one. Also not a 5, a 1. So that's a 7. We can clean up 7s there. Get that 4. This could not have been a 2 to begin with, so that's a 2. One of these two is a 2. Can't be a 5, so that's a 2, and this becomes a 4, not a 4. Picking up ones. And we're back to only 4 in the square. And we get a 1, 5, 6, 5, 6, 1, 6 combination. That can't be a 5. That makes this into a 5. 1, 6, 1, 6. 6, 1, 6. Okay. We're back to trying to figure out where in this column 8 belongs. If we put an 8 here, it gets 6, 2, 6, 2. This becomes a 3. And either of these will be 6 or 2. This becomes a 9. And neither of these will be a 9. We have the 9s. This becomes a 5. So not a 5 here, here, here. And that should have been handled earlier, at least some of them. That's not a 5 anymore. Four, 8, 4, 8 means not an 8 there. Not a 2 here. And one of these two is a 2. 9, 6, 9, 6. One, 1, 6. Not a 4 here, so that's an 8. That was a 4. Clean up 8s here. 7, 2, 7, 6, 7, 6, 9, 7, 6, 9. Correction. 2 here. 7, 6, 7, 6, 9, 7, 6, 9. All right. Eight, 6, 8, 6, 7, 7, 8, 5. Not an 8 here. Not a 9 here. Two 1s are possible. Sevens are all possible. 5s are required. One of them has to be a 5. One of them has to be a 1. And we are down to, that can't be a 3. That can't be a 3. That's a 3. 7. 3 and 7. 7 up there means one of these can be a 7. We got one of these two is a 7. So that's not an 8. 7, 5 pair now. All right. Hunting with an 8 here, making that a 9. That becomes a 6, 4, and 2. 6, 2. That becomes a 9, leaving a 6, 1 pair here. 6, 1 there, 6, 1 there. Not a 9, not an 8 here or here. And anything else we can clean up here? Not a 6 there or here. So that becomes a, nope. That's not a 6 either. This becomes a 9 though. I'm liking that so far. I may not in a little bit. We'll see. So we got a triple here. So if I say a 1 here, that makes this an 8, that a 6, 7 here, 8 here, 5, 1, and 6. 1 and 6. Not a 5 here. Not a 4 here, and that's been there for a while. So that's a 3, and that's not it. Okay. All right. Before we do that, this can't be a 4. So if that's a 4, that becomes a 3. That can't be a 3 either. Right. That was based on that being the 8. We go with this being the 8. Not an 8. These two are not going to be 8. These are not going to be 8s. That's going to be a 9. Not a 9 here or here. 6, 1, 6, 1 means it 2 here, so not a 2 there or there. Not a 9 here. That makes this into a 9. Doesn't affect these much because they couldn't be a 9 to begin with. That becomes a 5, so not a 5 here. Not a 5 there or there. So with a 4, 6 pair, that becomes not a 6, not a 6. 2 and 9. Not a 9. And 9 or 2 here. 6, not a 6. That becomes a 9. That pairs or ties up that nice. All right. Okay, that 6 says 4 and 6. So not a 4. That's going to be a 4. That will be a 3. Not a 6 there, so that's a... Oh, not a 6 there. Not a 3 here. Is that. 1, 8 given now. 8, 5, 8, 5, 8, 5, 1, 7, 7 and 1. Okay. Not a 9 here or here. Maybe one of these two is a 9. This becomes an 8. So not an 8 there. Becomes not an 8 there or there. One, 5, 7, 5, 1, 5, 7. Not a 3 here. That becomes a 3 and that becomes a 6. We clean up these two 6s. This one as well, that becomes a 9. That's a 6. We get to clear that 9. There's some 7s and 1s. That's going to be a 1, that's a 7. Clear that stuff. That becomes a 7. And this becomes a 2. This becomes a 7 and a 3 up here, making this a 7 and 3 down here. And this becomes a 4 with a 6 here, 8 here, 6 here, 6, 6, 8, 5 here makes this a 9. 8, 5 here makes this 1. Out of 5, that's a 7. So that makes this a 5, this a 1, 8, 1, 5, 6, 1, 6. This becomes an 8, 5, and an 8. Wow, that was a struggle all the way to the end for me. An hour and 56 minutes and 10 seconds. I am going to call that a day. It's been the hardest one I've done in a long time. The fact that I've been able to solve it is nice, but I would have given up if I were not streaming. I will be back tomorrow with an easy puzzle. It's not a simple puzzle, but it'll be easy. We'll see how you do. Let me know how you did, and we'll see you again.